warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and very good morning. So, Selamat Hari Raya, everyone. First and foremost, I would like to congratulate my friend, Associate Professor Benedict, for being promoted to Associate Professor recently. So, I would like to introduce our next speaker, Professor Dr. Abdul Halim bin Mokhtar. He is a consultant sport physician from Sports Medicine Department. He is currently a Deputy Commandant of Palapes, and he's a former Dean of Faculty of Sport and Exercise Science with Himalaya. He has been a medical committee for several sport associations locally and internationally, and has been involved in doping committee in local association, also international association. So he's the right person to talk about doping issues in athletes. So without further ado, I'd like to meet Prof. Halim to share his insight on doping in sports. Ignorance is not bliss. The floor is yours, Prof.
Thank you very much, Dr. Hazwan. Get my topic.
Yeah, it's great to see you, Prof.
Okay, thank you very much. Assalamualaikum and good morning, everyone. I'm going to talk about doping in sports. Ignorance is not bliss. Right. So, in terms of definition, in simple term, doping is actually using certain substances or methods in sports to enhance performance in unfair manner. And some of these substances or methods may be dangerous or risky to health. And at the same time, some of these drugs are used for therapeutic or diagnostic purposes. So that's where the contradictory part of this, or the controversial part of this, and a doping violation or an offense will result in athletes banned from sports for a long period. So with this in mind, so any medical personnel who is prescribing certain drugs or applying some methods on our athletes should be aware of the doping offenses and take necessary precautions when dealing with athletes. Now, this is more technical definition of the doping. So we usually refer this the technical part of doping to the WADA, or World Anti-Doping Agency, and it is defined as occurrence of one or more of the anti-doping rule violations set forth in this article 2.1 until article 2.11 or 2.11, sorry. Right. The main or the common ones is actually, or the one that we usually talk about is actually the presence of a prohibited substance or its metabolites or markers in athlete sample. And these are the area which I'm going to actually focus. While at the same time, I would like to also share with the audience that the doping offenses also include things like evading, avoiding, or refusing to give the sample, and trafficking, possessing some of these prohibited substances, right? And sometimes it's not even possessing; it's just attempting to administer to another athlete to another athlete as well. So these are all part of doping offenses. Yeah. Okay. Now, why are these substances banned? Mainly is because they contravene ethics of both sports and medical sciences. At the same time, many of them are unfair and unsafe, especially unsafe here. Unfair meaning that it's a sort of a cheating in which that you enhance your performance, yeah, unfairly, then which results in better performance, better results in a competition. Also need to know that we should look at the prohibited list, which is updated by the WADA every year. So it changes a bit, not a lot, but changes, and sometimes significant changes happen. So we should be aware that things are being updated regularly. Yeah? Right. For any substance or method to be added to the list, it must be shown that it has the potential to enhance of sports performance, or enhances it for sure, and also if it represents any actual or potential health risk to the athletes, or whether it actually violates the spirit of sports. So two of these three must be there before they actually decide whether a substance or method is banned. Now, they are actually categorized into three: banned at all time, meaning whether it's in the game or out of the games, and banned only when in competition, which means during the game. And the other one is actually prohibited in certain sports only. So these are the main three stems where we categorize the drugs or the methods. For this one is so it's a list of items. So I'll just go through slowly here. Sorry, I'll just go quickly here. I'll actually spend a bit more time later in other slides. Non-approved substances, which means they are not actually approved yet by any government agency, by any country yet, or maybe they are still in the experimental stage or still in the animal experimental stage, but some athletes may be using it. Yeah, so that this is the category S0. And then S1, anabolic agents. These are the anabolic steroids, peptide hormones, growth factors, yeah, beta-2 agonists, hormone and metabolic modulators, diuretics, and masking agents. And then we have the prohibited methods. All right, so banned at all times. So I mentioned about this one. I'm going to go skip this now. So going to the S1. So enabling agents. These are testosterone analogs, yeah. And knowing as testosterone, they actually build muscle and build bones. So they may actually give an advantage to the one who actually is taking the steroids, yeah. Peptide hormones, growth factors, related substance and mimetics, they also prone to actually help in growth hormones, in building the bones and muscles. Peptide hormones as well. Now for beta agonists, they are bronchodilators, and in high doses, they can stimulate muscle growth. So all beta-2 agonists are prohibited in sports except for these few. Yeah, salbutamol, which is we commonly use them, formoterol, samitrol, and inhaled vilantrol. At the same time, you must take note on the doses which is mentioned here. So it's not like it's totally allowed. As long as it's within these particular doses, then it should be allowed. Yeah, and these doses that you see is actually what is actually being uh, prescribed as therapeutic doses. Yeah, so it is unlikely for anyone to actually prescribe more than, for example, 1,600 micrograms of inhaled salbutamol to a person. So how do we actually detect this? They actually detect this by looking at the urine concentration of all the substances. Just to let you know that if someone is being nebulized with salbutamol, I would recommend for them to actually apply therapeutic use exemption, or what we call here as TUE. Next one is on modulators. So these modulators, they modify the effects of hormones or accelerate or slow down specific enzymatic reactions. For example, anti-estrogenic substances like tamoxifen and clomifen, they kind of like blocks the conversion of male testosterone into estrogen, and because of that, they have more relatively testosterone circulating, and that will actually again, like anabolic steroids, would enhance performance of the athlete. Insulin and insulin mimetics, they may improve endurance by lipolysis and amino acids mobilization. For metabolic modulators, they may stimulate fatty oxidation and muscle remodeling. Meldonium improve aerobic endurance, cardiac function, and capacity, as well as shorten recovery times. And for this category, all substances in this category are specified substances, conceal so these masking agents, they conceal the presence of prohibited substances. For example, if you take furosemide, being diuretics, they would dilute the urine. Yeah. So when you dilute the urine, the detection of some other substances can be masked. So that's why these substances are actually banned. Note that the detection in athlete sample at all times or in competition as applicable or any quantity of the following substances subject to threshold limits, for example, formoterol, salbutamol, ketine, and all this. So, and with a masking agent, then they must be treated as adverse analytical finding, which is actually the first uh, part of doping positive. Because for our understanding, we call it doping offense or doping positive. Is actually to call it really positive, it has to go through a certain process. But the first results that says that, okay, this guy has got the masking agent as well as for Mokhtar, for example, we call it an adverse analytical finding. Yeah. And then the next step would be actually result management, which, for example, if they have a therapeutic use exemption, then this AAF will be nullified. Yeah. Right. This is on methods. There are three main methods which has been actually listed in the WADA as doping offenses. So one is actually manipulation of blood. So what happens is that some of these athletes, they actually take their own blood and then store and transfuse this later before the games. So this is called autologous blood transfusion. And when they actually do this, then they'll get their own blood now expanded, so they have more oxygen carrying capacity. Next is actually on chemical and physical tampering, or for example, in this case, if you have some of them actually put on proteases or even detergent sometimes into the urine, and this detergent or proteases can actually uh, metabolize the banned substance. Yeah. Take note as well, fluid infusion more than 100 mils per 12 hours, which is actually small, right? Within 12 hours, which we commonly do it in the hospital settings, is also it's actually banned. Yeah, it's also banned. The next one is actually gene doping. It's actually introduction of gene material into the body and which modify them to have better muscles or better bones. Yeah. Next for in competition only, we have stimulants, we have narcotics, cannabinoids, and glucocorticoids. For stimulants, we have this, for example, amphetamine, methamphetamine. Yeah. So when someone is actually, stimulants, what they do is actually stimulate the CNS, the sympathetic nervous system, affecting the cardiovascular functions, decrease fatigue. So they can actually increase performance. Right, so there are certain exceptions for the stimulants. So these are among others. Yeah. Just note that, for example, ephedrine and pseudoephedrine, things that we actually commonly use for example, in runny nose and all that. It's not that they are really banned, but if they are taken in large amount, then they'll be banned. And how we detect this is actually by looking at the concentration. Yeah. So there's specific considerations there, as mentioned in my slide. Yeah. So this is on opioids. So opioids is actually banned as well in sports. I kind of highlighted tramadol because tramadol is something that we commonly use in our clinical setting. So be aware that tramadol is actually banned in sports. Yeah. So these are cannabinoids. So cannabis, hashish, and marijuana. So there's lots of debates on why should we ban them. That this is in competition, but just take it that WADA has actually done their own discussion, their own internal investigation, and they found that the cannabinoids can improve performance, yeah, by allowing better perform under pressure, elevate stress before and during competition. Glucocorticoids, this is an interesting part, where we commonly use this to treat many conditions, even in our sports medicine fraternity. Just know that all glucocorticoids are prohibited in competition when administered by injectables, oral and rectal. So meaning that only if it's given on topical, yeah, that's only then it's allowed. Yeah. So it is proven to actually enhance mental and physical of the athletes and improve endurance. So for glucocorticosteroids, there are certain things we need to be wary of. It's actually the main thing is actually the washout period. So, for example, if someone is actually competing, then you need to know when are the days they're going to compete. So remember that glucocorticoids is only banned in competition, prohibited in competition. Yeah. So if you do, for example, you take prednisolone like 1 week prior to the competition, then you should be okay. You do not really need to actually declare or even apply TUE because the washout period for triamcinolone, for prednisolone is just 3 days, oral prednisolone. So we kind of like need to actually know all this. The one which we have to be particularly worried of is actually the triamcinolone because the washout period for triamcinolone tends to be longer than the rest. So, for example, for intramuscular triamcinolone, takes 60 days to wash off. So, it's not that you cannot really give them, but if you decided to give them, which will actually, let's say, encroach into the competition day, we need to apply the therapeutic use exemption or the TUE. Then we have this beta blockers, which is a substance that's prohibited only in particular sports. So these are the sports that you need to know that it's where beta blockers are prohibited. So in this case, for example, let's take archery. So the beta blockers will actually reduces the heart rate, slows down the heart rate. So for an archer, this will be an advantage because they take the shot in between the two heartbeats. So the longer the heartbeat is, the better, longer time they can do. So they can take to actually do their aiming, as well as when they take the shots, it's not crossing the particular heartbeats. Yeah. All right. So just know a bit of the modifications. These are, as we go along, we get kind of like WADA kind of increase the list, and sometimes they actually drop one or two of the substances. So we just have to actually follow their announcement. Yeah. All right. So a little bit of that blood donation. So if you remember about the autologous blood transfusion is actually banned. It's a banned method. But specifically mentioned by one that if it is done, like it's actually through blood donation, done at a blood donation center, then it should be okay. So at the same time, there's also this list of saying they are monitoring, yeah, meaning that it's not really banned. So if you remember tramadol, it is banned during competition, but not out of competition. But right now, WADA is actually monitoring whether the use of tramadol out of a competition is actually too much as well. And sometimes with this monitoring, it may result in, for example, tramadol being included in the out in and out of competition prohibition as well. So that's what it means by under the monitoring list. Right, a little bit on TUE. So TUE or therapeutic use exemption, if we think that the drugs is the prohibited drugs deemed necessary in these athletes, we need to actually apply the TUE. And again, I mentioned that if it's glucocorticosteroid, just be aware of the washout period. Okay, so if someone has this TUE, because once you apply, and this will be actually considered by the TUE committee, and once you get the approval, then that TUE would protect the athlete from, or actually allow the athlete to take the particular medications. Yeah, this is just the form. I would just like to highlight that the form requires the athlete as well as the physician to fill. So, and you have to actually fill it, fill them really in way of thoroughly. Basically, it's actually with medical support, proper medical support, For example, if you have a report, MRI report, the ultrasound scan, you should actually include that to ensure or to be sufficient to be approved by the committee. Yeah? Right. So what happens if someone is actually caught, let's say, committing the doping offense? Yeah. So it may affect on the medal, meaning that the medal placing in the competition is being withdrawn or being withdrawn. Yeah. And the next thing is what commonly you've heard is actually an athlete being sanctioned. So it depends on there's a period of ineligibility for them. So just remember this first. Any substance, we start with 4 years. Then we will start thinking of, okay, is this intentional? Is this so? It can sometimes be reduced to 2 years. And some substances, they actually start with 2 years, especially the substances, what we call specified substances. For these 2 years, and then with maybe some justification and all that, they can actually be reduced to 1 year. So the period of ineligibility, if someone has committed doping offense, it can be as far as 4 years or as low as actually 1 year. Yeah, or let's just start with 2 years first until 4 years. And also, you need to know that if the offense is actually made twice, then usually it's lifetime. Okay, if you want to know more, that you need to actually go to the WADA code. Yeah. Okay, so in conclusion, I would like to say that doping in sports is unfair and may pose health risks. Some of the doping substances and methods are items we regularly use to treat common diseases. And doping offense may seriously impact the athlete's career and their lifespan. Be alert when you are treating an athlete. Apply TUE when necessary. Ignorance in this case, friends, is not bliss. With that, thank you very much. So pass back to you, Hazwan.
Thank you, Prof. Halim, for very insightful talk. Okay, so we have two questions here, Prof. The first question is, have athletes successfully sued their care providers for inadvertently treating them with drugs that you have itemized in the list?
Thank you very much for that question. Okay, number one, we haven't heard of the athlete suing their provider, but both were taken action on. Number one, for the athlete, just know that there's what we call a strict liability regulation, which means that the athlete is responsible of whatever substance found in his body. So regardless, we say that someone gave it to me, someone push it into me, then the athlete is still liable for that offense. That's number one. Number two, in the past, those people who have actually been doing this, I'm talking about the support personnel like doctors and things like that, or scientists, yeah, doctors and scientists among others, yeah. So they actually they got scot-free, but now WADA is actually strict. They can investigate, and if you really open up the website, I'm not necessarily website, just open up the Google, for example, look for doctors or personnel who've actually been taken action on, you can find us. So one of them that I know is actually from Spain. So there are a few, of these doctors, and they were taken action upon by the sports regulatory bodies. Okay, so can they be actually sued? Not sued, but can they be taken action by the medical council, for example, like in Malaysia? Yeah. So I think it's possible because there is what we call the integrity issue. So they probably actually look into a different type of aspect of what you call it process, okay. So as far as I know, I haven't heard of the athletes suing those athlete personnel, but I think it is possible. Yeah, it is possible. Okay, Hazwan?
The second question, in the case of Janik Sinner, he allegedly had trace of clostebol, a banned anabolic steroid, had entered his system through inadvertent contamination from his physio during a massage. Is that possible, Prof?
Okay, the word possible here, usually not really possible. But we do know that some of these substances you do apply topical, they do get absorbed. It's just that how much We do not know. And so commonly, if you look at topical, most topical are actually allowed. Okay, now the next question is that maybe in this case, maybe it is true. Yeah. So what the athlete needs to do is actually to prove that in his case, this is really what happened. So what they need to do is actually they need to get scientists looking through their body, because their physiology as well, so and test on them and provide that as an evidence to the court of arbitrary in sports. So it's not like we accept totally. So these things will be actually taken up in the court, but the onus is actually on the athlete to prove this. So not on WADA, for example, or any anti-doping organization. It's actually on the athlete, the one who's actually been accused, to actually prove that. So we call it the burden of proof. The burden of proof. So it has to be the task is actually on the athlete. Just to share with you, in one of our local athletes, so he alleged that the substance was actually contaminated from was contaminated in a preparation of one of the supplements. That happens many years ago. Because he was backed by the National Sports Institution, they actually carried out some investigation and actually tried to prove that the athlete, meaning that the athlete was actually supported in terms of finance and all that to look into this. So sometimes it's not about the athlete there. The organization that supports the athlete will also come into play, but the burden is still on the athlete to actually prove this. I hope that answers, yeah? Hazwan?
We have one more question. I think the last question. From Prof. Tungusara. Interesting talk, and thanks and congratulations, Prof. Some of these substances are good for athletes. Are they commonly used for non-competitive athletes?
Thank you, Prof. Yes, they have been using by non-competitive athletes. Let's just say if you stroll into the gym, yeah, I'm talking about the indoor gym, they do weight training and all that, you will find that there are many high hoppers that they can actually build muscle within short period of time. And their gym trainer may actually prescribe them this anabolic steroid. And this is not really an offense in terms of legal offense, yeah. Civil offense is not really a civil offense. So you've got these people actually taking in anabolic steroid, and some people actually in a way processing and trafficking it away. Yeah, and some of them actually don't really get it from the gym. They get it from online ordering, Prof. So they actually use this. So as long as they actually do not go into the main competition, they usually scot-free in a way, yeah. But it's just that recently the regulations actually changes a bit, that the anti-doping agency can even test any non-Olympic games as well. For example, let's just say we have a marathon run which is not under Olympic sports. Yeah, I'm talking about, let's just say, standard chartered marathon. So the ADAMAS, the anti-doping agency in Malaysia, can actually come down and do the test. And if the athlete is actually found to have doping, regardless whether they are elite athletes or just recreational athletes, they can be taken action upon as well. Right? Okay, thank you. Hazwan.
Okay, I think it's time now. Thank you, Prof. Halim, for the insightful talk. Thank you, everyone, who attend the talk and asking your questions. Thank you, everyone. Selamat Hari Raya.
Thanks. So I go.
Assalamualaikum.